Budget cuts are on the way for St. Joseph County next year. WSBT 22's Molly Jurasek caught up with several local department heads. And Molly, most of them say they aren't sure where they can make any more cuts.
Rick, the recommendation from the county's financial advisor is that most departments will have to cut 5% next year. Many say the county needs to be more selective about who's taking the brunt of the cuts.
The total budget cuts, when you break down every single individual department, we're recommending $1.5 million in cuts.
Steve Dalton is St. Joe County's financial advisor. He says these cuts are prepping for the 2020 circuit breaker tax caps. They're tax caps, he says, voters chose.
Folks say we want smaller government, but they don't realize, what that means at the local level.
County Auditor Mike Hammond says the cuts shouldn't be a one-size-fits-all approach.
So you have to be selective.
Dalton says not all departments will be cut 5%.
Some departments got ahead of the curve, and they're basically ready for 2020.
Hammond's department is one of them. He says they were asked to cut 3% in 2017, but they cut 6 to 7%.
Some departments, though, in their defense, they're not able to make these cuts. I was able to do that.
One department that's had to make cuts time and time again is St. Joe County Parks.
St. Joseph County Parks has had reductions in our operating budget almost every year since 2009.
Evie Kirkwood is the parks director. She says this barn is just one example of unexpected expenses. The shingles were in disrepair before the warranty was up, so they had to be replaced, with the company only covering about 10 grand of the cost.
So that's an example of an $80,000 cost to St. Joseph County Parks that we weren't expecting.
Kirkwood says parkgoers might expect to see fee increases in activities like canoeing, but you might see those in winter activities first. She says they'll consider raising prices for activities with high demand, like winter tubing.
Our inner tubing fees have been $3 a person for as long as I can remember.
Deadlines for budget proposals from each department are hitting mid-June. Another concern the auditor mentioned, potential lawsuits if places like the Juvenile Justice Center are not able to follow federal standards. I'll have more on that on WSBT.com later. At the live desk, I'm Molly Jurasek, WSBT 22 News.